You eat 3 meals a day, breakfast in the morning, lunch around midday, dinner in the evening. It feels as natural as sleeping, as instinctive as breathing, but your body never asked for 3 meals. For most of human history, people ate 2 meals, not 3. Lunch as a formal meal didn't even exist until around 1850. Someone invented the 3 meal day, and the phrase you grew up hearing, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, wasn't written by a doctor. It was written by a cereal company in 1944. Here's the full story of how a factory schedule became the rule the entire world lives by. For most of human existence, there was no fixed meal schedule. Hunter-gatherers ate when food was available, some days once, some days several times. The idea of eating at a specific hour every day was completely foreign. When farming arrived and daily life stabilized, most cultures settled on 2 meals. This held true across ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, and medieval Europe for over 1,000 years. In medieval England, the main meal of the day was called dinner, and it was eaten at around 11 in the morning, not the evening, 11 a.m. There was no lunch. There was no dinner in the evening, just 2 meals, and that was perfectly normal. So what changed? And who changed it? The third meal didn't come from science, it came from class. In 18th century Britain, the upper classes began eating dinner later and later in the evening, partly because gaslighting made it possible, and partly because eating dinner at a fashionable late hour was a way to signal that you didn't have to work during the day. By the late 1700s, wealthy Londoners were eating dinner at 5 or 6 in the evening. By the mid-1800s, some were pushing it past 8 or 9 p.m. That created a long, hungry gap between the morning meal and the evening one. Into that gap, a new habit appeared, a light midday snack, so informal that in 1755, Samuel Johnson's dictionary defined lunch as simply as much food as one's hand can hold. Not a meal, a handful of something. Then the factories arrived. When the industrial working day divided into fixed morning and afternoon shifts, workers got a scheduled midday break. They needed to eat during it. And just like that, the handful became a meal, because the clock said it was time. The word dinner, which had simply meant the main meal of the day, followed the clock wherever the main meal moved. When the wealthy pushed dinner to the evening, the word went with it. Lunch filled the gap it left behind, and breakfast, which had always existed as the meal that broke the night's fast, was now anchored by factory starting times that required workers to eat before leaving home. 3 meals a day wasn't a discovery. It was a factory timetable, exported to the world along with British industrial culture. Your body has no idea it's supposed to eat 3 times a day. Hunger is driven by a hormone called ghrelin, which rises and falls based on your activity, your sleep, your metabolism, and what you last ate, not a clock. Ghrelin doesn't know what time it is. Research consistently shows that what determines health outcomes is the total quality and quantity of food you eat, not the number of times you sit down to eat it. Intermittent fasting, 2 meals, 5 small meals, and time-restricted eating all show comparable results when nutritional needs are met. Travel anywhere and the 3-meal assumption collapses. Spain treats lunch as the main event and eats dinner late and light. Japan favors smaller, more frequent meals. Across the Middle East, the body adapts remarkably well to the entire schedule of Ramadan. The Western 3-meal system was never universal. It just traveled well, because British industrialization traveled everywhere. Once the 3-meal schedule was established, it became a commercial opportunity. In the 1890s, a doctor named John Harvey Kellogg was running a health sanitarium in Michigan. He invented cornflakes as a bland, easily digestible food for his patients. His brother Will saw something different, a mass market. Within a decade, breakfast cereal was being sold across America with aggressive advertising that told people breakfast wasn't just convenient, it was essential. The most important meal of the day, the fuel your body needed, the reason you'd fail without it. That phrase, the most important meal of the day, appeared in a 1944 Grape Nuts advertising campaign. Nutrition science hadn't said it, a marketing team did, and it stuck so completely that most people today still believe it's medical advice. So the three-meal system was built by industrialization, shaped by class habits, and then locked in place by companies who had a direct financial interest in making sure you ate every time the clock told you to. So, do you actually need 3 meals a day? Your biology doesn't demand it. Your ancestors didn't do it. The schedule was handed to you by a Victorian factory clock, refined by class signaling, and then sold back to you by a cereal company in 1944. That doesn't mean 3 meals is wrong. For a lot of people, it works well. The problem isn't the schedule itself. It's mistaking a historical invention for a biological fact. You didn't inherit this from your body. You inherited it from a clock. That's what we do at Unknown Behind Known Things. Find the moment when a habit became a rule and a rule became something nobody questioned anymore. Subscribe for more and tell us in the comments, how many meals do you actually eat in a day? We're curious whether the clock is still winning.